Complementary colors are the colors that are directly across from each other on the color wheel. Here you see a simplified color wheel. It only has the primary or secondary colors, and so it's a little bit easier to see the complementary pairs. For example, yellow and violet are across from each other on the color wheel, and that makes them complementary colors. And it's the same thing with red and green and blue and orange. Both of those are complementary pairs. Intensity is the brightness or dullness of a color. And when you put two complementary colors next to each other, they increase the intensity. They make each other appear brighter, like this red and green. But now if you mix them together, they dull each other and they create a neutral color. They neutralize each other, I like to say. What you're seeing are examples of intensity scales made when you mix complementary colors together. In this lesson, you'll learn how to mix complementary colors together to get a whole range of neutrals and to alter the colors, give you a whole new variety of colors. And we'll start out with blue and orange. As you notice, blue and orange are across from each other on the color wheel. I started out by painting orange at one end of the intensity scale, and now I'm mixing a little bit of blue with the orange. What I want is a noticeable change. I don't want to change too much too fast, but I want to show you the different array of colors that you can get by mixing complementary colors together. I'm mixing it thoroughly so that it doesn't have streaks, and then I'll paint it right next to the orange. And you can see that it's more of a brownish orange, and there's a lot of uses for things like that. There's a whole range of colors like that that you can actually buy in tubes, but if you know how to mix some complementary colors together, a lot of times you don't need that. I'll add a little bit more blue to it. And you notice I'm just adding a little bit at a time. And then I'm painting the next square over. And you can see it gets more and more brown, more and more neutral. And that's what complementary colors do. They neutralize each other. Okay, now before I do that big middle square, I'll start from the blue end. And I'll paint the blue square. And then I'm going to start with some blue and add a little bit of orange to it. You won't see the change as quickly because the blue is darker than the orange and it's not as easily affected. But I'm going to try to mix it so that there aren't any streaks, and I want to make sure there's a difference, and there is. And so now I'll keep on mixing. And you'll see that the blue actually ends up being more and more like a navy blue. It's kind of neutralizing it to make it so. So here's my last one before we go totally neutral. You can see the difference in the different colors of blue that I have down there now. But this is about as dark as I can go before we go totally neutral. Right now in the middle, I'm going to mix the two colors together until they basically cancel each other out, until it doesn't look like it's blue and it doesn't look like it's orange. Any kind of blue or any kind of orange. It just looks like a neutral color. And basically that's what I have. It's kind of a really dark, cool brown. And so these are examples of the colors you can get by mixing blue and orange together. Next we'll go with red and green. And this time I painted each one at each end before I started mixing. So I'll start from the red end, and I'm mixing a little bit of green with it until I see a noticeable change and until I don't see streaks. And it looks like there is enough of a change, so I can go ahead and paint that in. You can see how it gets to be more and more of like a brick red. Or, like there's some horses that have colors like that. So just so many different things you can do with it. Okay, now the next thing I'll do is I'll take some green and I'll mix red into the green. Now again, you won't see the changes dramatically because the green is darker than the red and it's not as strongly affected. It's not as affected as quickly. But you can see that we start to get more and more of a forest green. Now we'll mix until they cancel each other out and we have a complete neutral. You don't want to be able to look at it and see red or green in it. You want to see the neutral. And so here we have another kind of brown. Actually, the technical name for it is neutral gray because gray is the ultimate neutral color and these are ultimately neutralized. But they look brown to me, so I call it brown. Okay, so there we have the red and green intensity scale. And the third one we'll do is yellow and violet, right across from each other on the color wheel as well. So I will start out with a little bit of violet and mix it with the yellow. And again, looking for a noticeable change. And when I mix the violet with the yellow, it gives me more of an earth tone yellow, or more like a gold. Now, who would have ever thought that by mixing violet with yellow, you could get gold? But you can. And now, just like with the other ones, I will mix a little bit more with the yellow. And you can see how the color changes. A whole new possibility of colors. It looks like kind of a tan right now. I think you can still see kind of like the yellow in it though. So now we have three distinctively different colors, and they're all made from mixing the same colors together in different amounts. Now I'll do one more before we go over to the violet side. And so that one's a little bit darker. And now we're going to go with violet and add yellow to it. And again, because violet's a stronger color, you won't see dramatic changes. You'll see subtle changes. But you'll see it get more and more of a well-neutralized violet, I guess. Okay, now for the grand finale. We'll mix the yellow and purple together until you can't tell that it's either one. And it gives you another kind of brown. So there you have it.